Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Rois Tufel Halim. I come from Cirebon, which has the nickname the city of shrimp. The city of shrimp. You know the shrimp? Yes. I live at the Kunkrema Islamic Boarding School as a teacher, or the students usually call me Ustad. I've lived in the Kunkrema Islamic Boarding School for a year and a half, but I've only been in college for 5 months. I was studying at the Ladasa Masyiro Islamic College. To be precise, in the English study program. I'm still relatively young, 19 years old. My current job is college, teaching lessons and taking care of Islamic boarding schools. I return to my residence in Cirebon twice a year, in December and May. Now, in January, because this is January, and so in April, the vacation in second semester in April, in Ramadan in April. Okay. My hobbies are watching movies, playing games, and writing stories. I enjoy watching movies more. The movies I usually watch are horror and action genres. Yes, I love horror and action. So I want to tell a story about the ants and the grain. Once upon a time, there was a little ant called Anita. She was very hardworking and lived in an anthill with the rest of her family, about 5,000 relatives. You know, in anthill, there was much ants, about 5,000 ants inside them house. The house of the ants has 5,000. You think there's so much ants? Yes. The ants were busy storing the grain for the winter. The winter already come for them. So the ants were busy storing grain for the winter, so that when the cold weather came, there'll be enough food for everyone. So when the winter came, there enough food for everyone. For every ants, they much food, enough food for winter. Because when the winter, the ants cannot out for them anthill. Yeah, because this is very cold weather, and the ants when attack the snow, the ants will be weak with the snow. The ants will die with attacking snow. So before winter come, the ants storing much grain as much as possible. Okay, it's the story. The ants before winter come. But this year, the grain was very small and difficult to transport. Why the grain is very difficult to transport? Because this is winter. When the winter come, it's difficult to transport. Because I think before winter there is the hard hurricane, the hard wind come to the earth before the winter. this I think, yes, I know what you think, that I think it's very difficult to transport the food because this is the hard wine, the strong wine as possible. It was gloomy situation, and even the wisest old ants not sure they could survive the winter. Uh, the ant hill, there is the wisest old ants, the oldest ants in the colonies, thought to the entire of the ants, they will not survive the winter. Oh, this is very bad. How the ant can survive the winter? Okay, but this little ants called Anita, but Anita wants to store as much grain as possible she can to help her family, and she knew that by showing an optimistic attitude around the rest of the ants, they could do it. This Anita wants to save her family. The Anita, one of ants called Anita. Anita wants to help her family from the winter, and Anita was to showing the optimistic attitude to her family. So her family will be survive the winter. So off she went to train with ant who was much stronger than her. The ant called Alexander. So Anita asking help to Alexander. The ant name is Alexander. Alexander is the stronger ant, the much stronger than Anita. Or I think Alexander is the strongest ant in that colonies. Okay, Alexander. Anita asking help to Alexander to help him carrying the grains to the anthill before the winter. So Alexander taught her a few tricks. Alexander taught a few tricks to Anita how to carry more grain with the same amount of effort. Yes, this Alexander taught Anita how to carry more grain with the same amount of effort. Okay, Anita trained for a few days, and as the days went past, she was able to carry more and more. So Anita Anita trained for a few days, and after the day went past, after many days, finally she was able to carry the grain more and more. This is the effort of Anita, can carry the grain more and more. When Anita was finally ready, she called the rest of the ants together. Yes, Anita called the entire of the ants together, and she spoke to them. And she told them, "I know you think we won't survive the winter, but I have a solution. Firstly, you have to believe we can do it. And secondly, I'll teach you what you need to do to carry more grain." Yes. Anita taught the entire of the ants how that they need to believe to themselves. And the second, Anita will teach the entire of the ants what the entire of the ants need, how to carry more grain quickly, how to carry more grain quickly. So the storytelling, Alexander taught Anita how to carry grain more, and Anita taught the entire of her family, entire of the ants, how to carry more grain quickly, as she thought with Alexander. And so while the anthill set to work, the Anta said, with optimism and a hopeful heart, and before the winter arrived, they had already gathered more grain than the year before. Wow! They can collect the more grain than the year before. You know, I told you before, the situation is the small grain and difficult to transport, because with the Anita optimism and all of her family optimism, they can to carry much grain than the year before. So you think this is the precise of the optimism or the year before. And so it was that thanks to Anita, the entire of the ant say thanks to Anita, all the ants survived the winter without any problem. So you ought to believe to yourself. With optimism and the great effort, you can pass any problem that you have. And so you can teach to your friends, to the world of man, what you effort to pass your problem, so the people can pass it them problem as you teach. So your teaching is precise to people, that the people can pass them problem as you do before. Okay, this is about the optimism and the great effort for this video. Thanks for watching this video. I am saying so sorry that in very much speaking and the wrong pronunciation. I say thank you to Mr. Nurul Fiatena, that my lecturer. She taught me how to speak English correctly, and I'm sorry for collecting this video, because I have many problem. My boarding school have the holiday and the signal is bad in that place. So I am late to collect this video. I'm sorry, and for you that have watching this video until till end, please subscribe. Yeah, please subscribe. Just subscribe, yes. Please subscribe and give likes for this video, so that I can study more for speaking English and telling story. So I say thank you for you. In the last, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.